So, in case you wondered, that whole song, like Amazing Grace, was written about her. No big whoop. She's making breakfast and lunch. She's making some fried chicken. We cooked up the chicken last night and some rice. So I thought I'd go for a little stroll here. Show you a little bit of the backyard. Oh, and again, so here's the install that these guys did on the generator. I bought this for it's 1,000 watts, which basically is 800 VA. And it works great. I mean, I had like every single cell phone plugged in, those two lights. I mean, if you think about it, right, the essentials, you can't buy anything that uses an excessive amount of energy. Of course, unless it's an appliance. But I mean, lighting is so ridiculously efficient now, as are, you know, cell phones and everything. And if you don't know, if you've never been outside the United States, you know how you plug in your charger. Well, you can plug in that charger anywhere that's got between 80 and 240 volts. 240 volts, so you never need to get a changer if you're going to these other countries. Other than the plugs might not necessarily be what you need. So here is the water system I just discovered, and so a lot of this is you and I discovering this together. And so I'm not completely sure where this goes or where it comes from. But you know, again, I could spend days and weeks like just exploring this place. I don't know what the black pipe is for. I don't know what this blue pipe is for. And it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And so I have no clue what's going on there. I assume it brings fresh water to the homes. Which is just, you know, pretty bizarre, right? Because you'd be like, no, well, just, you know, put it all underground. But maybe this is the best they've done. And in areas, I mean, that, you know, the black pipe just basically goes away. It's no longer under the ground. And then it rises up again here and goes over to there. Okay, so these are a whole bunch of pipes. And so, potentially, considering I see that pressure tank, potentially what this is oh, I'm sorry. So this is basically the pool house. And so that's the filtration, and there's a bunch of the pumps, but as everybody knows, without power, you don't have a whole lot of pool pump going on. And I would submit you got to keep this thing really clean because, and the reason there's a whole sort of symphony of these is because there's also a quote-unquote jacuzzi. I mean, obviously there's not a full-on one. I didn't take a picture of the pool that was. There's a second pool on the island. It was the main pool, and it would be what every other house would use. However, they've let that get into disrepair, and so it is one of these pools that like looks pretty bad. There's pieces of the and then there's these, like, you know, the green goes in and out. This is the sort of the wet kitchen, and this is the main kitchen over here. It's a very, very interesting place to be. And, you know, again, the difference between 4-star and 5-star, right, is the level of customer service. And so there's 6 people that live on the island as caretakers regularly. One of them is the security guard. One of them is Benji, the manager, who's a great guy. All the guys are great guys, quite frankly. It's just that sadly Benji is the only one whose name I know. I introduced myself to one of the guys yesterday who was doing a great job installing solar and cleaning up the house, but sadly I forgot his name. So that's my problem. So this is one of these deals where they have, you know, extra water going around. And so we brought our sneakers. We didn't sort of bring hiking boots into the Philippines. I don't even know if Gracie owns a pair. But she definitely has some sneakers, and so we brought those. Now we walked all the way over to what are 17 additional little, like, over the water homes. Basically like a studio, you know, a hotel room, right? And it's on like 6 pilings, and it's all made of concrete. and it's got ceramic floors, and it's got absolutely horrible damage. And I think Yolanda, I think they said it was in 2013 out here, and so it just ripped through here and ripped everything to shreds. And again, sadly, they have not been able to get the plan back together to. And then, you know, there are these interesting things, like there's this concrete slab just sitting here. Now, you know what's funny is what this reminds me of is, a couple things I wanted to state. So if you are familiar with Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's island, in comparison, believe it or not, this is twice the size. So this is twice the size of Richard Branson's island, and as you can also imagine, it has almost zero of the amenities. It has pretty comfortable beds. But again, it doesn't have, it doesn't have the staff and that sort of thing, because it's not a full-on resort. But I'll tell you something, it could easily be turned into that, given the right amount of money. But then, of course, you get into the question of, okay, well, how am I going to generate revenue to pay all this back? And even staying here last night, Gracie and I were like, okay, this is awesome, it's romantic, and it's beautiful, and it's quiet. And even without the air conditioning, there was certainly enough wind to keep me comfortable as well as her. But what do? There's only so much you can do. I mean, there's only so much hiking and that sort of thing. So, much like at Necker, as I almost fall into a hole, much like on Necker, it's got stuff to do. And, as far as getting internet connectivity out to here, I mean, first of all, it's the Philippines. And secondly, fiber dropped underneath the sea is very expensive. And so you would be doing point-to-point microwave, which is fine. I mean, there's still plenty of places in the US to do that. That's a big thing. I'll tell you, this resort that we just stayed at, they were like, oh yeah, the number one complaint for us is slow internet. And because of that, next week, we're getting fiber optics installed. Now, this is down in Puerto Princesa, where you have power 24 hours a day. And the reason I state that is because there's many places around here on Palawan that isn't Puerto Princesa, the major city proper, because I mean technically the Puerto Princesa underground river, that's in Sabang, but it's still considered Puerto Princesa, but it's very far away, and they don't have power installed. So either you buy a generator, and it seems like for the most part people sort of agree that at sundown I will turn on my generator, and at sunset at sundown I will turn on my generator, and at sunrise I will turn it off, allowing me to have electricity and air conditioning primarily at night, so that I can sleep and watch TV and that sort of thing. But it begs the question, okay, so during the day, what do you do for refrigerators? Now, there's plenty of propane around here. I mean, you see these tanks that everyone basically has inside of they have those big tanks underneath the counters in their kitchens. So it's not like propane's unavailable. And in Mexico, I mean, I had a propane fridge, which was great because, whether there was electricity or not, I had a cold refrigerator. And I have many friends, my boss, for example, and in his coach, in his RV, he's got a dual refrigerator system. And so if there's electricity on and available, then it uses that. Otherwise, it shuts down and goes over to propane automatically. And so that would be the real key thing to have here. And I don't know, for all I know, those are available, and many people buy them at the local Home Depot. But anyway, I'm reminded of all the great times I had as a kid. And I shared a little bit about this when I was in the Florida Keys, I don't know, about a month ago maybe, and how I was reflecting nostalgically and very positively on my experiences that I had when I was down in the Florida Keys when I was about 18 or 19. And so when I was a kid, I had a Boston whaler, and Dad and I, and then my buddies and I, would cruise out to the Boston Harbor Islands. And while the sand was nothing like this, interestingly enough, this island, if you're one of my buddies that watches this and you live back east, this island, Cagdanao, is basically twice the size of Grape Island, which was a very favorite spot of mine and my friends. We used to camp on there in the summer. It's about 2.5, almost 3 times the size of Bumpkin Island in the Boston Harbor. So anyway, a little bit more of a check-in, and I wanted to show you more around the house and a little bit more of the beach. And I'll be checking in throughout the day. I mean, I just absolutely love it here, but I'm starting, you know, the reality of the beauty is sort of setting in, and I'm saying to myself, okay, so could I really live here? What kind of infrastructure would I need to be happy here? Because I can tell you, there are cities that have power 24 hours a day and have internet, in air quotes, here in the Philippines, and it just drives me crazy at how slow the internet speed is. Because, you know, that's the way I get my work done and I communicate now, and all I want to do is transition into more of that. The infamous, you can work anywhere provided you have an internet connection. So, you know, that's a bit of a challenge here in the Philippines for sure. But that said, I know my buddy Rike. I mean, he's done videos, YouTube videos for years here. And I think going on 4. And so, you know, I mean, it's absolutely possible. And you can drive to an internet cafe, or you can set the upload at night, and in the morning, you know, your video's uploaded. And I've done that before, even in Coronado, for that matter. So anyway, it's Mike's checking in from Cagdanao, and I hope wherever you're watching this, you're safe and happy. And I hope these are adding value. I hope this is kind of giving you a perspective on, you know, I mean, you know, you could label this like, Mike, you're living like a millionaire, you have like all this stuff, and I've lost interest in that. Several years ago, basically, it was 2013, I made a commitment to myself of less stuff, more experience. Sold my house, got rid of, I'm down to 1 car, you know, and for whatever reason, I had more of those, and I had multiple houses, and it's just ridiculous. And so I like the experiences. We're gonna be here for 3 days, and we're gonna be having an amazing time. And then before we got here, we also stayed in a little nipa hut on a campground area that I showed you the videos of, where the breakfast sunrise was equally as gorgeous. And it was, you know, $20, $30, something like that. So anyway, options everywhere, aren't there? I love you guys. Take care. Ciao.